All right, so the options market's implying a 6% move to the upside or the downside. How are retail traders positioning ahead of this report when it comes to Nvidia and also some other names that could be, very much impacted by these results?
Well, there's no question Nvidia has been, the stock to trade right now because the whole market's kind of sitting around waiting to see what happens. But on the retail side, nobody's ever gotten paid by being short Nvidia, at least to this point. So I think retail investors, they're cautious, no question about it. And there is no upside skew in the option pricing, but I just don't think retail investors are testing the downside yet. They're still pretty long.
All right, so you don't think they're testing the downside yet, but I want to go back to what you just said, because you kind of gave us some foreshadowing of what you're about to say right now. You said up to this point, you didn't see any benefit to shorting Nvidia, but right now you're actually seeing some opportunity and betting on the downside on the stock. Why? Why at this point of all times?
Well, I mean, only because of price. And there's two reasons. One is price, just in general. At some point, these stocks, although they may be laying the foundation for the future, and although they may be the true catalyst behind AI, at some point, the prices get ahead of the story. And I think that, or the story gets out of the prices, I think that's a better way to say it. And so NVIDIA may be fully priced at these levels, and it still can be, the true foundation of all the growth in AI for years to come. So it just may be expensive. And so you can think back to 2000 when a lot of the stocks that laid the foundation for the internet, had trouble maintaining those price levels. And I think we're kind of in the same area right now with respect to AI.
All right, so you think we might be in the same level, but I want to go back to something you said. You think it's kind of rich. We're looking at the PE ratio on the screen, 36.5 times forward earnings. Considering this stock, the estimates are for just incredible earnings growth. I mean, law of big numbers. It has to decline. It was like 100% earnings growth just a couple quarters ago. Now it's in the 40s and 50s for revenue and EPS. But Isn't that worth the 36 times forward PE? Why do you think it's so rich?
Well, I mean, it could be. There's a lot of questions out there. From a trader perspective, I think traders feel like it's rich. Like, traders don't necessarily care, because the real question is about, what is retail doing on here? Doing with the stock. And I think that, the PE ratios don't come into play as much as kind of just the general feel of how something's trading at these levels. And it's the most valuable company in the world. I mean, that has to be considered, I think, a little rich. I don't think any of us can argue whether the PE ratio was 30 or the PE ratio was 45 or 25 or whatever. That's not going to win the argument here. The question is, how complacent are the longs? And, and how much more room do they have to buy this stock up to, $4.5 trillion, $5 trillion? I mean, whatever that number is. So I think it's just more of a question of, where are the pot odds? Do you get paid more for playing the downside than you get paid for the upside? And I think that's the real question that retail traders have to ask.
So, Tom, something just crossed the wires that may bolster your argument, but I still just want to get your take on it. Just crossing the wires, China is seeking to triple the output of AI chips in an effort to boost deep-seek ambitions. We've seen some reports, number one, that China was offended by some things the Commerce Secretary said about the chips that they're getting. Also, China, the government, warning some companies that there may be some type of backdoor in these NVIDIA chips. The fact that China is looking to triple its output of chips domestically, does that at all shape your view of these earnings coming up, or is that a longer-term story in your mind?
I think the fundamental side to this is a much longer-term story, but I don't think you can ignore it. But I think it's a longer-term story. I think today, you're just thinking, earnings, and it's really going to be about what they say looking forward. But from an option perspective, this is the first time when the puts in trading in NVIDIA. This is one thing. These are kind of crazy things that option traders like me look at. This is the first time the puts are more expensive than the calls. It's just kind of the option market saying, you know what, we may be somewhere near fully priced.
All right. So if it's the options market saying that we may be somewhere near fully priced, does that also explain some of the price action we've seen, not this morning, but in recent days in Palantir? I'm looking at Palantir. 217 times forward earnings. Do retail traders really care about valuation? We hear off and on the street gets religion about valuation, and sometimes, forget it. We're going to go super high beta. We're going to go ARK Innovation ETF. We're going to go non-profitable companies. So when it comes to the retail trader in particular, do you think valuation is the issue with the recent weakness in Palantir, and is valuation going to be a thing for NVIDIA?
The retail trader doesn't care about valuation. They care about price. Institutions like to talk about how much they care about value, how much they care about fundamental valuations. But I think the reality is that with Palantir, with Nvidia, and with any other stock like that, you're talking about companies that if you haven't been long, regardless of what you think, you risk losing, you lose those funds. And so on the institutional side, the risk is not being in it. It has nothing to do with the individual stock. You just have to have those names. I think on the retail side, it's a little different. Retail investors love Nvidia because it is the most liquid stock out there. And so it's in some cases more liquid than some of the big indexes that we trade. So when you think about, what is the best trading vehicle out there, it's been Nvidia for a long time. And it's been Palantir, in the last year or so. So I think that's the reason there's so much interest in Nvidia and Palantir. They're just incredibly liquid, and you can do lots of stuff in there as an individual investor.
Tom, we got to go, but can I ask you very quickly, if you were making an investment, and maybe you are, I'm not asking you about your personal investment, but just for the purposes of TV, are you doing a call or a put on this earnings report? Okay,
well, I'm definitely playing this earnings report, and I am playing the downside small. So I'm looking for the stock. I think it's overpriced. I think the stock should be inside the expected move to the downside.